I got my sleeper team for those who are out there trying to predict that Class AA hockey tournament. My sleeper team is Benilde St. Margaret's, and let me tell you why. First of all, they're 12-3 with a very balanced team. The goals are coming from a lot of different sources, and their goaltending has been excellent. Jacob Myers is one of the best in the state. He's been carrying them so far, but a lot of people don't know this. They beat Hill Murray last week, and Jacob Myers broke his finger in practice the day before that game. Rob Ankeny stepped in. They didn't miss a beat, and they beat Hill Murray 3-2, which was kind of a surprise to a lot of people, especially Hill Murray. And Ankeny made 37 saves.
They're starting to score a little bit more now, too, aren't they?
They definitely are, Mike. That's a good point. And they've got, like I say, they've got about 6 players that are over or close to that 20-point mark, which is very good balance for a high school team. That means 2 lines are really producing.
Yeah, they're going to need that type of balance. I mean, last year, obviously, they had, guys, Steven Zerke, Chris Student, Matt Berglund, guys that go to that could score goals. This year, and Ken Pauley's been up front with it. That isn't really in their bag this year. The sleeper team, yeah, but they did get stumped by Edina pretty good the other week too. I think it was 6-1 or something like that.
6-2 actually,
yeah.
But you're right. Edina is kind of the class right now. But I'm looking at teams like Benilde. I'm looking at teams like Centennial. Certainly Jefferson, Hill Murray, never out of it. Roseau, sitting up there in the northwest corner of the state, they're never out of it. They're never too far down.
Right.
And they always play great hockey at tournament time, it seems like.
Right. It's going to be fun. We're a couple of weeks away from it yet where it really starts to heat up, but it's, in my opinion, the best time of the year. You start to see these section tournaments unfold and see who's going to be playing who and where and what for, and it doesn't get any better.
How about some of the best individual players? Anybody can answer this. Best individual players you guys have seen in boys hockey this year?
Nick Leddy, Eden Prairie defenseman. He's sort of an offensive-minded defenseman, and he's outstanding. Bloomington Jefferson they've got a lot of quality players, but it's a lot different from the Saturday Island teams that won 3 straight from 92 to 94. I believe on the 94 Jefferson team, they had 6 players that went on and played Division I college hockey. That's
elite.
That's 1/3 of your team. But this, as far as Eden Prairie, Leddy, I'd say he's one of the top players I've seen.
I think the best player I've seen live this year has been Tyler Pitlick, the forward from Centennial. He has scored some very beautiful goals, and he works hard all ends of the ice. I talked to a scout. I was actually at the Elite Nike Bauer tournament, kind of the capper for the end of the fall Elite League here in Minnesota. And a scout from one of the United States Hockey League teams, with the comment he had is he shoots like a man, and he does. I mean, he gets that puck on his stick, and it just he can fire it like unlike there's not many high school players that can shoot like that. Some more individuals to talk about. I think goaltending wise, Ty Simcoe, the goaltender from Wayzata, before that game against Burnsville, he had 4 shutouts in 5 games. Granted, they are playing some fantastic team defense around him, but he's a senior on that team. He's one of their captains, and he has really stepped up and had a great year. Other individuals, I don't think you can go too far without talking about this Blaine sophomore, Nick Bukestad. I think his last name is Bukestad. Sorry about that, but he's going to the University of Minnesota, and I've seen him play, and he's my size. He's 6'2", and he's 15 years old, and so he's going to be a special player. The state of Minnesota is full of them. We've seen that in the first round of the NHL draft. Each of the last half a dozen years, there's been 1 or 2 Minnesotans go every year from the high school ranks, and I mean that's going to continue this year. But all signs are Leddy's going to be a first round draft pick, and so and I guess Pitlick has a chance to be. He's a year too young right now to be drafted this coming summer, but the following summer when he's eligible, there's a lot of talk that he's a first round pick too.
Danny Mattson from Holy Angels, another player that's going to be somebody to watch. I don't know if Holy Angels get the state. There's going to be a lot of good players watching the state tournament from Section 215
and 218 and 220 and so on. Mike, how about you? Any Division I players down there in that South Metro?
You know, there are some pretty nice players in the lake who maybe you won't see playing in Division I college hockey next season, but perhaps at some point in the future. For instance, the goalie at Egan, Trent Casper, who is not getting probably a lot of notice because of what teams like Eden Prairie and Jefferson have been able to do. He's one of the, if not the conference's, one of the best goalies in the conference, if not the best. He'd had 3 shutouts in 4 games before their 2-0 loss to Eden Prairie the other night. Burnsville has the Lake Conference's leading scorer in Zach May, a senior forward, and another senior forward who plays on May's line, Andy Pearson, is tied for second in the conference in scoring. Mike Friedman is a talented forward at Egan at ECU, and one of their team leaders. And also, Apple Valley has several young players who could be very good in the future. They had a freshman named A.J. Michelson who scored the hat trick in their big rivalry game against Eastview on Tuesday night. Apple Valley won that game 5-2. So the Lake Conference, at least this year, maybe doesn't have a lot of players who everybody knows about, but they have quite a few good players who are kind of under the radar right now.
I've got, of course, some great players that I've covered in the Classic Lake Conference this year. Some that come to mind, of course, Sam Coda of Minnetonka is good a team player as you'll find. Great leader in the locker room, great leader on the ice. The Dyna Trio, Connor Garter, Anders Lee, Marshall Everson. They have great goaltending from Johnny Ankeny. And Alex Fonz over at Hopkins, Nick mentioned him before, one of the best goalies I've seen. And they've got the young forward, Travis Boyd, just a 9th grader who led them in scoring last year. And then they have Archie Skalbeck, who's as good a center as I've seen this year. Just tremendously talented conference. Nick mentioned several players from Wayzata as well. It's a great hockey conference.
Yeah, it's a great hockey state. Like it is every year. Minnesota's, it's a state of hockey, quote unquote, and kind of for a reason. I mean, these kids grew up and we produce some pretty good players here.
Well, thanks, guys. Some great insight and some good scouting of the players too. You guys could probably work for the NHL if you chose to do that. But we're out of time for this segment. Thank you very much for being with us.